midnight patrol, boots on gravel, I taste the mold. Dead cattle lined up, eyes still wide. You smell the iron, I smell the light. Abnormal investigations into strange phenomenon. Yeah, we walk that line till the night is gone. Bigfoot breathing heavy in the tree line, werewolves laughing at the blue skyline. Abnormal investigations into strange phenomenon. I keep pushing on, I keep pushing on. Old man talks about the shadow man, says he saw claws, not a human hand. Witches in the quarry burning sage, kids gone missing, no one turns the page. Unsolved cases piled in the van, lore myths written in the dust on my hands. Strange creatures scratching at the door, you hear a howl, I just want more. Animal killings, chalk on the truck, radio hissing, is it terror or luck? Abnormal investigations into strange phenomenon. I keep rolling in the dark till the fear is gone.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Abnormal Investigations. Tonight, we're going to be talking about a subject that a lot of people spoke about, and tonight we're going to look at some possible origins of where these things that we investigate might have come from. I guess everything's got to have a mama, right, or a mother, and we're going to look back at some of the text that comes from the Dead Sea Scrolls and some other things that have come to light that may shed some light on possibly the what happened to the mothers of these Nephilim. Um, you all know that I base a lot of my investigations biblically and off of the Bible and where these creatures come from. And to know where they come from, you probably need to know the parents or the creator, correct? So, in order to be able to do that, we need to know, I guess, who they call mom. And tonight we're going to explore the possibilities and the theories that surround this idea and the possible answer to these questions. Um, I'm going to go ahead and bring Jessie on. She is a doctor in this field and has a lot of information to add on this subject. So, everybody, please welcome Jessie.
Why? Why do you do that? Why? In the great words of Clough, why? Why, man? Why?
Well, I just wanted to.
There we go. I just wanted to give you the recognition that you deserve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know enough to, yeah, to not know enough.
Well, you know that you do have your own following out there, right?
Huh?
You know you have your own following. I mean, you do have some people that, follow you, or as some people would call it, stalking. I'm not sure that you can stalk a public page, but some people say that you can. And I'm pretty sure that goes against probably the Constitution, because I think anything that is published public, or you're standing in a legal area, that you're able to observe it. That was the last I knew, but what do I know, right?
Right? Yeah. Hey. Yeah. See, Clough, why you do this? Why
Oh,
you do
there,
this?
Clough, I didn't forget about you, you little thing. We're glad to have you in here.
I guess I feel special when I get stalked and don't even know it.
See, there you go. Inner psychic said she stalks you, self-incriminating herself
Well,
right
thank
here
you,
on this
Inner
show tonight.
Psychic. I appreciate your stalking.
If you're going to be stalked, you might as well be stalked by the best of them.
Yeah.
So we're going to let a few people get in here tonight. We're going to talk just for a little bit, because we had a little bit of an issue before the show.
Uh-oh.
My YouTube stream was deleted, and this is a brand new stream. We had to recreate a stream for tonight's show. It was unmonetized and removed. So it was heavily reported, and due to the heavy reporting, it was being held. Now, what we could have done is we could have waited for it to become unheld and then went live on the same thumbnail, but I didn't want to make you all have to wait to listen to my teachings I will give tonight. But to start off the show, not only do we have it written, posted, we're also going to verbally advise everybody that tonight's show and all the opinions, theories, and everything with this show tonight is entertainment purposes only and satire. So there we go. Now that we will get our disclaimer out of the way, because there's a lot of things going on. Yeah, I seen that, Tim. It's terrible that that's happening. And others are allowed to go and pretty much worship the devil.
Yeah.
But, who's running this world, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we stand behind Dee. We support Dee. Go subscribe to her secondary channel, and let's help her get her numbers back up to where she was at, guys. I know we can do that together. We stand with her, and I know that she stands with me, and I have been in contact with her, so everything will work out just fine for her.
Yep.
Hello, just me, Connie. We got Nancy in here moderating. We got Grace in here. Silver Bullets in here. Grace. Yeah, I said Grace. I was making sure I said Grace. We got the Cluffinators in here tonight. We got She is the Ghost here tonight. We've got Emmy Tongue in here. We've got Sunshine's in here. She's always shedding a light on something. I got to give her a little trouble. Thank you, Sunshine, for your support, for your continual support over the years, and for standing behind me, supporting me. It means a lot to me. You are definitely one of the OGs in the field of abnormal investigations. By Stephen Michael McKee. I'll make you famous. She's a Ghost. I do not know if both of them are. I just know that one of them is.
Yeah, last I read from the post, it was just her main one, Dark Adventures. Yeah.
So Jesse and I have decided, since that is happening in the community right now, y'all know that I have a backup page called AI Seeking the Truth. We're going to start, I believe, trying to stream our lives when we go boots on the ground over to that channel simultaneously with this channel. All that technical work will be done by Jesse, so if it fails, you know who to blame, because I am not tech savvy and I would not know how to do that. So, Jesse, would you like to explain to everybody what we will be doing when we go boots on the ground until we let a few more people get in here?
Yeah, so when you go boots on the ground, what I will be doing is actually taking your live stream feed and also airing it onto AI Seeking the Truth. So the only difference is if you'll be able to watch them in either one. So AI Seeking will kind of be a few seconds behind Abnormal when you're watching it, and you could still chat in both live, but he's not going to be able to see the live chat in AI Seeking. Although, now that I think about it, probably work something out about that too. We'll see.
Maybe you can be answering questions over there.
We'll see.
It ain't like you. It ain't like you don't do enough. Like you'll be on the phone and trying to watch and talk and stream and chat.
Why not? I always feel like sometimes, the waitresses that are carrying like 2 trays of like piles and piles of dishes, and you're just waiting for them to trip and fall and see it. Yeah, that's my life.
To see who gets the free steak.
No.
Tonight's subject is going to be a interesting subject. It's going to explore some possibilities of the mothers of these, what we believe them to be Nephilim. As y'all know, the Nephilim is a pretty scary thing whenever you're actually an investigator that goes out into the fields where these things are and not in the backyard on a 4-wheeler that you call a golf cart. You've actually got to go out there alone. You got to actually put some boots on the ground and not tires on the ground. And you actually have to get away from your house where you can see the Christmas lights in the background. But a lot of people do project onto others what they do. I think that's become pretty obvious in the community. Anyways, Jesse, you said you had a video you wanted to share tonight. Is that something you want to share now? Is that later on? Or did you not get it done?
I didn't get it transferred because I was doing something else for Wide Open. I had an ADD moment. Sorry.
So you got to doing something else. So that means everybody's not going to get to see your video tonight, huh?
I could probably try and work on it and be sound effects.
It's okay though, because I got some things planned for everybody. But yeah, I got to play with those a little bit. Thank you, Nancy, for putting that up there. We would appreciate y'all to go to the backup channel, subscribe there. We will be doing some stuff over there. Unfortunately, we're going to have to, it seems.
Mm-hmm. And I did put Dee's link in there too for anybody that would like to get onto her backup channel as well. So make sure you get onto both of those, guys.
So I've got some literature right here that we're going to use tonight because I do like to use evidence whenever you speak about something in, the rare opportunity that you get to be able to actually have evidence whenever you speak about these things, because we all know that a lot of this is based on speculation, and that can make things challenging,
Mm-hmm.
if you will. So I think that tonight is going to cause a lot of questions. I look forward to answering every one of them for you and giving you the right answer. But I do look forward to engaging in this, because I think it's going to be really interesting, because this is something I've always wondered about, and I have not studied. So would you like to say anything before we get into the nuts and bolts of it?
Was I supposed to?
No, you have the floor. It's totally up to you.
Oh. No. I don't know. I don't know.
All right.
Sorry.
So,
My mind is like, okay, it has been a very long day. My mind is like fried out. I'm pretty much, so I'm trying to catch my second wind here, okay?
all right, everybody. So, as you know, what we're going to be talking about tonight is mermaids and sirens. Some people believe them to be the same thing. Some people believe that they are two different entities. Honestly, after going through everything tonight and reading through everything, that's a 50-50 debate. You have scholars that believe that there was different translations of both throughout history, through Europe and other places, believing that there was two different ones, that some possessed some different qualities than others, and that they come from two different places. And you could do a week on this. So what we're going to break it down to tonight is we're going to place some of the Dead Sea Scrolls, which I know are controversial and are not accepted, into the canons. Okay. Now, that would be a debate in itself as to why they were not. I know that there is belief that they contradict themselves, and if anything contradicts itself, you can't believe a little bit of it. You can't believe it all. Then there's also the other side of the argument that says the stuff was removed to hide information from us. So, depending on which side of the aisle you stand on, I think tonight should be pretty interesting, just looking at some of the information that we're going to talk about tonight and we're going to share tonight. So I think that will be a really good thing to start it. Now, we know that from reading earlier, and I think one of the most intriguing things to me about these sirens is that they are not just depicted not in one area, not in one time frame. They are depicted throughout the world by different tribes, different peoples, sailors, fishermen, everything. And what I think is really, really interesting is whenever you go back and you look at some of the recorded history of the sirens / mermaids, is they were documented worldwide, and the description of them was almost dead on. And this is back whenever a lot of these tribes didn't even know each other existed. There was no internet, and they couldn't pick up the phone and call each other. So you have people that had no idea, knowing that each other existed, describing the same thing. So to me, whenever you have that happening, that is a pretty good indication that they are seeing a human-like creature in the sea. People just don't see things like that.
So Amanda says, I thought tonight was mother of Nephilims. So I guess for people that don't quite understand the connection, do you want to explain that? Like why?
So, if you're wondering why we're calling tonight the mother of the Nephilim, is as we go on through tonight and we dig into the Dead Sea Scrolls, one of those being the Book of Enoch, 1 being the main thing, you will understand where we're taking this tonight, and I think it will all go together like a puzzle.
Mhm.
You know, hopefully, we will get this figured out. I think I know where I stand on it, but we're going to see where everybody stands on it toward the end of the night. That's what I like about doing these discussions is we open it up to everybody, and I appreciate all of your opinions. I like to back my research off of well-known documented research, not off of hearsay or speculation. I think that whenever you start basing things off hearsay and speculation, those equal rumors, and we all know what rumors end up doing. They end up
Telling
getting
you,
people exercised.
oh, I was gonna
Do what?
say, you learn more things about yourself that you didn't know.
Oh yeah, if you want to know something about yourself, just go ask somebody that doesn't know you.
Mhm.
Uh, so let's start off with this. In the book of Enoch, sirens are described as the transformed wives of the fallen angels who strayed from heaven. They are linked to the concept of temptation and corruption, symbolizing the consequences of sin and the allure of wickedness. Okay? So, Amanda, the belief is, and not only based off of the Dead Sea Scrolls, also out of the Bible too. The Bible does mention, not directly, but allures to these creatures also. Um, we believe, as what Scott Carpenter, I believe, Melba Ketchum, and what they found in during their research was we knew that the mother had human DNA, the father was unknown. The belief is at the sirens or the mermaids, whatever you wish to call them, are the ones that birthed the Nephilim, and their punishment was to be cast into the sea. And that's where they became these, some believe, bird-like creatures in the sirens, and then some believe in the human-looking like fish creatures in the mermaids. But if you go back and you research it, they kind of go together. Some say they're bird, fish looking like humans. Are they the same thing? That would be a debate. I don't even know that you could come to an official agreement with that, right?
Yeah, I guess it depends on what
You're welcome.
theory or story you're listening to or reading or following up on in history. They kind of, yeah.
Right. You're welcome, Amanda. I didn't know this either for a long time, Amanda, till I started diving into this stuff. The Book of Enoch sirens aren't the seductive creatures from Greek mythology. They are transformed women who have become symbols of divine punishment and eternal sorrow. These beings emerged from the darker narrative involving the fallen angels and the forbidden knowledge. Their presence as an ancient text raises questions about moral corruption, victimhood, and the consequences of transgression divine boundaries. What exactly transformed these women, and why do they live in perpetual anguish? That is one of the questions I think we'll talk about. Would you like to start off with your theory?
Well, actually, a lot of times people, when you read the scripture in Genesis, it says that the Watchers took the wives or the daughters of Adam as their wives. And I know that I was taught in Bible school that they ended up taking them as wives, and it was led to believe that it was forcefully, like these were women that were taken against their will. However, through other readings and readings of the different scriptures and texts, it came to line up more along the lines that these women were actually the corrupt women of the line, which a lot of people, because I know you've talked about like the Cain, the line of Cain. It's often thought of that these were the women of Cain, the daughters of Cain as well, and they were actually willingly going to the fallen, the Watchers, becoming wives because ultimately they wanted that power. Um, a lot of Greek mythology stories often describe the women that end up having these demigods for children, like Achilles, Hercules. They grow and thrive on the power, knowing that their offspring is so strong and so powerful. And so these women actually went to and were given themselves over to the fallen. So that leads to the reason of why they were actually punished in the end. They were taught things and were put in a place of breeding these giants.
They, and another thing, I know somebody's going to bring this up also, is there's also two sides to the story also, as far as when I read this earlier. Trust me, I've done a lot of information cramming fast. Some believe that they gave themselves and some believe that they were taken.
Mm-hmm.
So just if anybody out there is sitting there typing really fast trying to catch us on that, we're doing the very best we can to bring this to you as understanding as you can, because there is so much into this that you can go down. You're getting the bare bone. I would even say we're giving you just an idea of what's going on. So I think also that the reason they live in perpetual anguish is, my belief is let's go back to the fallen angels. My belief is the fallen angels corrupted the bloodline, not only to pervert the creation of God, but also to stop the birth of Jesus Christ. They did not want the Savior to be born, so their thoughts were, we go and we taint the blood, then the Savior can't be born, because what will he be? He would have Nephilim blood in him. What is the Nephilim blood? It is the blood that is unforgivable.
Mm-hmm.
It has no forgiveness. So Jesus, they're thinking in their minds, okay, if we go put our blood in there and he says we can't be forgiven, then he wouldn't be able to be forgiven. Or maybe it was their way of trying to get forgiveness, thinking, well, maybe if the Savior has our blood, then we'll be forgiven, because then he will forgive him. It could be two arguments, I think. Maybe they were trying to save themselves through the corruption. I think you could have a long, deep conversation on that, because we know that they are not forgiven, nor their generations. So was it an act to just pervert the creation of God, or was it an act to try to save themselves? And if you go down that rabbit hole, and I'm not going to go all the way down that rabbit hole tonight, because that's not the way I'm wanting to go, but just to go a little bit down that rabbit hole, you could even go as far as to say they were doing it to try to save themselves, that they weren't inherently evil, because they did have a mother, that was female, that was human, which could give them the possibility that they would have the right from wrong. They would have our human nature in them, to say. So could that explain why some Bigfoot save some people and some don't? That they're not inherently mean? That they were trying to save themselves? They were being selfish? I mean, nobody wants to burn in hell for eternity. Everybody, that knows God wants to be in the presence of God. So was they trying to save themselves? Is that what they done? But they had no idea that they were going to pervert and taint the blood that God had already had a plan. God was going to bypass that anyways, because God sees from the end to the beginning, not the beginning to the end. So God had already knew that the flood of Noah was coming. These were going to be wiped out. He knew that Noah's bloodline was going to be saved, and that was how the Nephilim were going to cease existing in the flesh. A lot of people do believe that after the flood, they became disembodied and became demons. And that's why whenever there is possession, or you deal with a supernatural entity, you have different levels of their strength, because you may not be dealing with an actual demon. You could be dealing with a fallen angel, and I believe that the fallen angel would be a little harder to get rid of, and you can go down that rabbit hole. And I think that would take our show a whole different direction tonight, because you can continue to go that way, because you could even be the devil's advocate and say, well, they're all inherently mean because they're not saving the kids because they're good. They're saving the kids to save themselves, because they knew that if they didn't find the child, that they were going to be hunted down and they were going to be killed. So there could be that argument that, they were doing it. Or, there is so many questions right now. I think that, in my opinion, this is my opinion, I do not force my opinions on anybody. My opinion can change at any time. I am open to suggestions, as any good investigator should be. I am open to any evidence. And so what I believe is they are evil and they're not to be trusted. I believe that we should stay on the safe side, unless, we can just come out and say, they're not bad. But we have a lot of reports that have come in. Look at the girl and her her boyfriend that she was going to marry. He had been interacting with these things for many, many years, no problems, had a great relationship with them, and then one day she finds him decapitated. So that would kind of lead me to believe that they have no remorse. Hello, wild man. Or maybe not even a human conscience. Maybe to them, we are nothing more than a rat that's running around in your house. You don't know. Anything you want to add to that before we move on? Because and I know you've even had that conversation with me before, are they all inherently mean?
Yeah, and I struggle with that. I really do. You do hear so many different stories coming from all over the place that I've heard stories where people have actually raised them as infants, or have been saved by them several times, or have befriended them, or clans of them. They have protected them and the property, but then I wonder too, is the protection simply because I've had a thought too that, are they protecting the person themselves, or are they protecting the person because it protects the property that they're on? And regardless of the person, whoever would be there, so is it always for their own selfless reasons, or is it for selfish reasons?
Right. I didn't think about that, because if you have somebody that's on that property, say you have a widow lady that's in her older years, and she's accepted these creatures. She hasn't rebuked them. She's made an agreement with them, if you will.
Feeding them and greeting them, and yeah.
Right. And if they're afraid that, hey, she fell out in the yard, she needs help back in the house, I better help her back in the house, because the next person that buys this place may be a person that doesn't want me here. And they may rebuke me, and I've got to move on.
Especially if these are clans of beings that have been there for generations and generations. And a lot of times families do pass down. In the past, families had passed down properties, large properties that, tell the stories down to their grandkids. And now all of a sudden, years later, what happens? So yeah, that would pretty much want them to protect the family.
I think if you look at it from this perspective, God, say you're a fallen angel. God created you. He made you. You just
He did.
existed. Right.
Oh,
And you're an angel. But you're an angel. You're not who
okay.
you are. You're an angel. You're
Okay.
supernatural. So your existence just began. You just were an angel. And you lived in the glory of God. You saw the throne. You walked amongst him. You were there and all the glory. And you know the glory. And then all of a sudden, God creates an earth and a world. And then he creates these beings that are beneath you that you could destroy so easily. You're so much more knowledgeable than they are. Your power is stronger. You have access to the throne of God physically. You can be there. And when I say physically, I don't mean a body, I mean a heavenly body, but they can be there. And then all of a sudden, you decide, I'm going to interact with them. And you make a mistake. You make a sin, right? You do a sinful act. They come down and they mate with the women, right? To put it kind of nicely. And God says, because you've done that, you have no forgiveness, nor your offspring, right? Your generations. But then they look at, man, but these things are so beneath us. They have sinned. These people have sinned. They sin every day. He loved them so much that he sent his own son to die for them. And no matter what we do, we're not good enough. But these people that are not good enough are born not good enough, that are born into sin, that are not worthy, that killed God's own son. They can be forgiven and live for eternity with him in glory. And no matter what I do, I'm damned for damnation. And the offspring. Would that not cause you to hate the humans?
See, and that's why I'm still confused as to why the fallen, I mean, out of jealousy and spite and against God, I mean, they were in the presence of God. They had seen him in all of his glory. To fall and reject that in the first place and go against him, it just blows my mind. I couldn't fathom that
Do you,
decision.
do you think maybe what caused him to do it is to see God in all his glory and to know how much better even he was than the angels? That they were like, what is his fascination with these humans? What is, in all his glory, what does he see in them that is so important? Maybe they wanted to understand. Maybe they wanted to see, what's this all about?
But then to come down and even corrupt us further by teaching us things that we shouldn't have been knowing, between weapons and medicines and war, and I mean, just all of the different things that even the technology, I mean, it goes on still today. I truly believe that they are continuing to teach us things that is fallen angel technology. And so then why then? Why are they still continuing to do it? Is it out of spite? Like, well, if we're condemned, let's see who else we can bring with us?
So what if we play devil's advocate and we say the reason they came down and they taught us medicines and all of this knowledge was to take our faith from us, as to come to him as a child and to depend more on ourselves for healing and for things that we needed instead of depending on God. They were saying, you don't need God if you're sick. You can go pick this plant and you don't have to pray to God to be healed. Here, you can do it this way. As a rebellious, being rebellious as, Lucifer was.
Well, I do think that that was part of the plan, part of their plan as well, because after all, it might not necessarily corrupt the first couple of generations, but sooner or later, all the way down the line, generations from now, people forget the stories. People deny the stories. People start to say these are all myths and legends, and just old wives' tales and they're not true. And they depend more and more upon themselves and the quote science behind things that even scientists now are starting to go, what the
Right.
heck?
Yeah, and scientists, are having trouble right now too, because a lot of scientists that were atheists are becoming saved, devout Christians because they're trying so hard to disprove the Bible that they're proving the Bible.
Right?
So, and I think all glory to God on that. That I think that's a great thing.
hmm
Um, furthermore, when you look into it, it also says that the Greek fragments of one Enoch, for anybody that wants to look, discovered among the Dead Sea Scrolls don't contain these specific passages suggestions. They are later additions or interpretations. Okay, so what you're getting into here is why the Dead Sea Scrolls were not adopted into the canon. Okay, and the reason for that being is they think that they were written later on and could not be trusted, that there was deviations, there was contradictions, and they said if you can't believe one part of it, you can't believe it all.
But, but, ooh, can I say something?
Sure.
but, but they were originally in the original scriptures. They were taken out in the 1600s during the rule of King James when he was doing stuff with the Catholic Church, because it was in 1947, I believe, when they actually discovered the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Right. What ended up hurting, and I looked this up because I knew that you would probably want to talk about that. So, what ended up hurting the canonization of the
Okay.
Dead Sea Scrolls, and I'm not saying
Okay.
I agree with this or not agree with it. I'm just
I
saying
I would
this is
I'm
this
up
is from
for
them.
I'm up for the explanation.
This is what the scholars noted.
Oh, okay.
That Ethiopian scribes often incorporated local folklore and Mediterranean mythological elements during the translation and found these scrolls to not be worthy. The most compelling references appear in chapters discussing the Watcher's offspring, where certain female entities possess the human beauty of the avian characteristics, leading the scholars to state that even in other passages of the Holy Bible, that it did match that there were creatures such as the siren mentioned. But other mythological Mediterranean elements in the Book of Enoch were proven to be false. So, because they found falsehoods in the Dead Sea Scrolls, they did not accept them as canonization. They're not saying there's not truth in them, but they're saying that they cannot be accepted as divine writings from God. Because if they were divine writings from God, then they would not contradict themselves or fall upon folklore.
Are they false or do they contradict themselves? Because that
Both.
they do. Okay.
And it says that it was accepted by all scholars and the Ethiopian scholars, which were really looked upon as very knowledgeable from the Ethiopian Bible.
Well, many people look upon the Pope and the Catholic Church as scholars too. I'm not trying to get into an argument. I'm just saying, devil's
Right.
advocate. Sure. Okay. But
That's what they said. That was the explanation given.
I just find it interesting that there are creatures spoke about in several of the books that were removed that people have stated that they are seeing today. But yet we're not supposed to read that or look at that. That's all lies. And that's where it's like, okay, so where do you draw the line?
This is what I was told by a Baptist preacher.
Okay.
I'm not Baptist, by the way. If anybody wants to know, I'm not afraid to share what my religious views are. I'm not Baptist, Methodist, Lutheran, or any of that. I am simply Christian. But what he told me was the reason they tell us not to read the Book of Enoch is because it holds untruths. And whenever we read something that holds untruth, then we are open and subject to being deceived. And not everybody has the discernment that others may have. And it could lead you off the road, off the trail, confuse you, or even cause you to lose your faith and to say, well, this can't be true because it contradicts itself. They say it's in the Bible. To where somebody else may have a stronger discernment and be able to read it, understand it, and separate truth from fact and be able to get something from it.
And we've talked about that too, like the childlike faith. And I don't know. I couldn't tell you the Bible front to back, and I don't know the Bible as well as I should. But I grew up, like I said, I grew up in a private school, hearing the scriptures and the stories and going over it and over it, and memorizing stuff, and I've always considered myself to have that childlike faith. I mean, if that is what I'm being told in the Bible, I don't question it. People do try and argue with me, and I guess I'm one of those people too that I'm just like, eh.
No, people argue in this field. You're kidding me.
Yeah, I
No,
don't know.
another thing that I think that he said to me that made the most sense to me, and he said, I'm going to put it to you simply, okay? For 90% of people in the world, they are not trying to be scholars and they're not trying to understand the history. They are trying to form a personal relationship with Christ to make it to heaven. Therefore, the Bible has everything in it you need to be able to accomplish that. It is a simple map that shows you from point A to point B and how it all came to be in a nutshell. We know that the only way to the Father is through the Son. We must accept the Son as our Lord and Savior. And there is no other way, that none of us will ever be good enough.
Right.
And I think that is a great explanation that he gave. Is there is people that have stronger discernment than others. It doesn't mean they're more Christian than you. It doesn't mean they're closer to God than you. God gave all of us gifts. All of us have different gifts. Some have better gifts of discernment. Some have better gifts of, rebuking devils. Some of us have better gifts of understanding certain literature. Everybody has their own gifts. I mean, you can meet some people I've met in my life that it didn't matter what day you met them. They just gave you a warm feeling and you just felt good to be around them. A good heart, a good soul. So, it just depends on the gift. But if you want to go to the same place as everybody else to live with the Lord the rest of your life, you'll find it in John 3:16.
Absolutely.
So moving on over to the other part, and I like this part. I kind of get into this. I think it's awesome. The first book I ever had as a child that I read, and I would like to find it again and add it to my book collection, which my book collection is not very big because I do not read a lot of books. But if I had another book that I wanted, whenever I was young, I don't even remember where it came from. I had it. It was a small yellow hardback book. The name of it was called Mythical Beasts.
I have that book.
You do?
I do.
Yeah, I had that when I was young, and it has the Kappa in it, and it talked about the Kappa, and it talked about what was the other thing, the part man, part horse, the Minotaur.
Yep, the Minotaur. Yeah, I think there's like a griffin on the top front of it or something. Yeah, I have that book. Except it's not hardcover, it's paperback.
Man, I had the yellow hardcover one. I used to read that thing all the time, like all the time.
Mine's all scribbled up. I wrote notes in it. I'm like, that's wrong. That's right. That's wrong.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to. I may have to try to find that book on eBay. I haven't even looked. I'm sure you could probably find it.
I don't know. I gotta look. Now I want to look.
I may have to look. So here's where it starts getting really cool. When the Watchers descended from heaven and took human wives. And you notice here it is saying they took them.
Hmm.
They
Which is why
set, huh?
I was gonna say that's why we were always taught that they were taken forcefully. Yeah.
Right. It says that they took them
Hmm.
and they set in motion a chain of divine retribution that would transform these women into the tormented beings Enoch identifies as sirens. These women did not choose their fate. They became victims of the angels' rebellion against divine law. The text portrays them as cursed to eternally lament their participation in the forbidden unions that produced the Nephilim. So we can go just on this paragraph right here. I see some pretty interesting conversations. I know you have something you want to say.
No, repeat that. I got the first part. Okay, repeat the second part. That
Okay,
they what?
the Watchers descended from the heavens and took human wives. They
Mhm.
set in motion a chain of divine retribution that would transform these women into the tormented beings Enoch identifies as sirens. These women didn't choose their fate. They became victims of the angels' rebellion against divine law. The text portrays them as cursed to eternally lament their participation in the forbidden unions that produced the Nephilim. Okay,
Okay.
before you say anything, let me throw this in there before anybody says anything. The scholars from the Ethiopian Bible noted this is one of the contradictions that made it not canon. For instance, this is what they show. He says that the women were took, and then they were punished for their participation. So that
Well,
was one of the big things.
that right there though is some of the same mythological stories that are told even in Greek mythology. For example, if you think of Medusa, she was actually punished after being taken by Poseidon. And
Right.
her punishment was to be turned into the woman with all of the snake. That was her punishment. And
That's
now
not
half.
that's not all women. Just joking. Clough, if he's awake, he's laughing. His throat's hurting now.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear Randy going, Mike,
Yeah.
paybacks.
You're gonna pay for that one.
But that is a very common a thing that is but even if you even think about the stories in the Bible as well, even the some of the women that and even in history and other cultures, some of the women that were taken as forcefully as wives and made into wives against their wishes, or taken just in general against their wishes, they were punished because ultimately it's the woman's fault for, you know, uh,
I'm actually glad you brought that up because you're actually pretty much reiterating the same thing that they said why it wasn't canon is because you just said that it related to mythology, and that was one of the reasons it was not accepted into canonology because they believed that it was taken from other stories and was not factual.
but then there's the question about the mythology stories in the first place. I mean, I, for one, completely am convinced that the stories of Zeus and Hades and Athena and Aphrodite, these are not demigods or Greek gods. These are the fallen angels that fell and that basically begged the humans to worship them because they're the ones that took humans as their spouses or whatnot, lovers, and ended up having demigods with them. But these are then turned into beings or the heroes of old, such as Hercules and Achilles, and I'm trying to think of some other names, but these were, I mean, and that's not just in Greek mythology, that's in Norse mythology and Celtic mythology. And I mean, you look back at pretty much any old type pagan religions, and they're all very similar stories. You look at even, I mean, the, um, now I can't think of it, like the religions of the islands, and um, even some of the Asian religions and stuff, they're all, or mythologies, I shouldn't say religions, mythologies. You look at those and all of the stories correlate. The ones that people are most familiar with, of course, are the Greek mythology and the Egyptian mythology, especially Egyptian, because of course everybody talks about like the Anubis and the dog-headed gods of the Egyptian. But I do believe that these are the fallen angels that actually came down and bred with the humans, and that's where that started from. So if they're going to say, well, it's taken from mythology, where did those mythological stories come from in the first place? Can't hear you.
The dog was rudely interrupting you.
Yeah.
Something's going on with New England Dirt Roads. I'm not sure what's going on. I don't want him to leave the chat. I'm not sure what happened though. What you're saying, I understand exactly what you're saying because we talk all the time. But I think what people were going to say is, well, imagination. It was made from imagination would be the argument. I read a lot of that today, that they was using like imagination, they were using dreams, and they were trying to, but I agree with you. I agree with you. I believe that you can't have an imagination unless you have seen something similar to what you're imagining, right? I mean, you can't just go out and or I wouldn't think so. I mean, because whenever you have a dream, do you ever dream about something you've never thought about or never seen?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I don't. Whenever I dream, I mean, it can be explained. It can be like, it was a demon. It was a bird-headed monster. It was this. It was that. It was a hat man.
So I just want to say, New England Dirt Roads. I think it was a joke, which kind of was what I was leading into originally, but said, well, what were they wearing? Which again leads into what I was saying is, the women are coercing the men because they're dressed,
Good art.
they're showing the ankle or they're showing the neck, it's like,
which could be a good argument because the Bible does say how women should dress.
It says how men should dress too, but men don't
Exactly.
follow that.
No. Nobody does anymore. I mean,
no. That again goes back to how
right.
how evil has corrupted this world. Things that, even 50 years ago we would have went, oh, that is horrible. How could they do that? Now we're like, everybody does it.
Well, girls walk around today trying to sell their body to men by how they dress rather than trying to find a spouse. And a man goes around with his shirt off and trying to impress women with his body rather than what God intended for us to do. I mean, it's all sinful. It is, lust. And they're creating lust. It's still hard for me to understand why the women would. I mean, yeah, if they were dressed that way, is that a lesson for us all to learn that, you go out seeking that attention, you may get the attention you don't want, and you may end up paying for it? Well, I don't know.
However, I mean, there is a difference though too when, okay, we could, do we want to go down this? Because I could really argue this.
No, because I can see this. It's already fallen over to chat.
Yeah. We'll take that discussion to another day.
I think, let me rephrase my statement. I don't understand, is what the way I will put it. I don't understand why they would be punished eternally for essentially being forced to do that. That's what I don't understand. Now, I don't pretend to know God's ways. I know that He says that we will understand more when we are in His presence, and I know that I'm not supposed to know everything. But me as a human and thinking fleshly, I don't understand. I'm ignorant of that. Maybe I don't know, but I don't understand.
See, and there's a difference between somebody like you who says, I don't understand, and there are other people who go, well, I understand because they were putting themselves in a position where that they shouldn't have. So it can go both ways. So the women that chose to be in places that they shouldn't have been, and a lot of it goes to victim shaming or victim blaming, but ultimately, if you are following the rules that have been put in place for protection in the first place, a lot of times the things that I've even said to my
Oh,
daughter,
okay.
you
Right.
know,
I agree with you. Yeah.
for example, when I say, when she was young, I would say, don't run off. You need to be careful. There are people out there that aren't trusting, that aren't
And if
trustful.
and if
And
you
if
are
you,
going to run off, have a good insurance policy from mama.
yeah,
Not really.
but as
Love you,
she
Danny.
got, as she got older, and she started to see things in a more mature understanding and seeing things on the news and on the internet and how children have been exploited and taken and kidnapped and disappear. It finally came to her light that she went, oh, it was like a, oh crap.
Right.
Wow. I get it now. And it's like, yes, if you make those decisions, sometimes we find ourselves in positions where we didn't intentionally want to end up. However, that then goes for the people that we are with to then stand up and make the right decisions. Just because opportunity arises to take advantage of another person, what kind of a person are you? Do you take advantage of that person, or do you protect that person and go, hey, they're in a vulnerable state, I need to protect them? If you have that ability, even if you are vulnerable peoples in a group, as a group, you can protect each other from other threats, even if you have found yourself in a position that you shouldn't have been in the first place. Hence, like teenage girls going to a party and finding out that there's a lot of alcohol there. Do you then partake in it, or do you say, hey, we shouldn't be here, we should leave? Oh, but I want to have fun. I want to be the cool person. Well, that's where you're falling into you shouldn't be doing that. You need to follow your gut and walk away. There are, and a lot of that too goes to, how are boys raised? Are they being raised to be upstanding, good gentlemen, or are they being raised to be boys?
Yeah, and then how many children nowadays are rewarded for bad behavior and are enabled in what they're doing?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it goes to, I mean, everybody has a decision to make. Just like everybody has the ability to listen to reason of another person saying, hey, that is not a good idea. So were these women that were being, taken by these fallen angels? What were they doing there in the first place? There
Were
were.
they were they walking outside of the circle of protection of God?
Mhm. I mean, there are plenty of stories, and things in the Bible that have explained that, hey, they were living in a city of sin, Sodom and Gomorrah, but yet they chose to still do the right things. There were still good, godly people living in a world of sin around them, and they still made the decision to follow God. So it's not an excuse to even just say, well, everybody's doing it, might as well just accept it and go with the flow. No, you got to make your choice.
I agree 100% because we've talked about this before about going out whenever we do our boots on the ground, which is the most, I believe, personally, the most dangerous part of our investigation on these channels is going out where you're amongst them. You know, we have said, are we walking outside of that circle of protection? Are we seeking what we're not supposed to seek? Is that why, after so long, I can't use that word, but we have lost a lot of investigators, and a lot of them have had really close encounters. And it makes you wonder if they would have stopped and done more of armchair reporting and investigating, would they have survived longer than going out and actually witnessing these creatures firsthand? Because we know that, and more proof. This is proof based on actual proof.
Mm-hmm.
We know high levels of radiation is not good for us.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that a constant exposure to it is even worse.
Mm-hmm.
When we go out into those woods, does our blood pressure rise? Absolutely. Do we get adrenaline dumps? Absolutely. Is that good for us to have all that going on? Does it wear on the body? Is it normal for the body? Is that why God said that young men's hearts will fail them when they see these things? I mean,
But I also believe that it does take other individuals that are able to be put in a position that they can handle things to be able to bring to light some of this stuff. I don't know how many times I've seen or heard stories where people have said, I don't know what I saw. Messing with things that messing with things that they shouldn't be messing with, whether it's Ouija boards or circles or occult stuff or whatever. And they have then been able to find Christ in the process. So there's, it's a double-edged sword. You have to protect yourself, but at the same time, by doing the actual field type investigations, we're able to actually discover and learn more about what we're dealing with and what other people are dealing with without even understanding in the first place.
yeah, because I mean, if you're going out there into the woods and you're even doing this as fun,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not protecting yourself,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like what Tyler said, always protect your energy.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the place we just done the boots on the ground and found the feathers and the sticks. That's the same place you mentioned a year ago. The same thing was going on.
Yep.
Yeah, and like Jen Plaza says, is that Bigfoot is reported to be highly radioactive. I believe that. I believe he is, because I believe that he has interactions with the fallen angels,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why we see the burnt figures. I sure hope to bring that person on I've spoke to forever, and to get her story out sometime. We may have to do it as a pre-record, because I know it's a very hard story for her, and I don't want to put anybody in an uncomfortable position. But she's the only person I know of that has ever had an interaction to where it, and I don't want to say too much because I'm not at liberty, but I will say that changed her whole life and her spot on Google Maps instantly. People don't do what she done that don't have encounters. Absolutely do not do what she done.
Mm-hmm.
What she done, in my opinion, was absolutely the reaction somebody would do having an encounter with something like what she had. Her story is amazing. Her story is sad, and it affects her even to this day. I know that the entity followed her across state lines, and it blew snot or whatever it was, some kind of a snot looking film on the outside of her window one night, and left her a message. And if she ever wants to tell that, I will let her tell the message. But it's not my story to tell. But that is a life altering. And you know what's even scarier about that She wasn't looking for and did not want and did not believe in those things. So that even
Well,
adds more to it.
that's like what we were talking about before when you said if something came up to your car window or my car window and like was peeking in and just sitting out in a, yeah, I'd be a whole lot more freaked out if I was not thinking about it or looking for it sitting in my car rather than if I'm actually out in the field investigating, looking for these things because your guard's down. You're not
Right.
expecting it. So, yeah, that'd be terrifying.
Cause you to run a brand new pair of Depends.
Heck yeah.
The flowered ones. It says their transformation serves both punishment and warning within Enoch's narrative framework. They're condemned to wander the earth, desolate places, crying out in anguish for their lost children and fallen angelic partners.
What does that sound like?
Go ahead.
There's the story of La Llorona. There's the story of the Banshees. There's the stories of, I mean, even the succubus. And I mean, are they all are is that what these are? Maybe the lost spirit, the damned souls.
What about even the howls of the werewolf?
Mm-hmm.
Are they crying out because they're lonely, or are they crying out to something else?
When they're crying out and saying "Mama."
Right. The other night, Jesse, when that thing screamed, we got to get that clipped. That sent chills down my back.
Right before
That
the
thing
coyotes went on.
screamed. Yeah, it screamed all the way through there. It never stopped.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
And
gonna
it
see
was
if
running.
I can actually enhance the volume on it because I know when I was listening to it on my headset on my phone, I couldn't hear it. I could hear it better on my computer headset. So I want to see if I can clip it and enhance that.
Oh, that would be cool. Tyler, no, bro. Yeah, the hooting too. But that hollering, man, when that that was a scream. I don't know. I don't even know what to think about that. Finishing this up real quick. The Nephilim emerged when the Watchers mated with the human women, producing giants who devastated the earth. Some scholars interpret certain passages as describing siren-like beings born from the forbidden relationships. Here's the part that's going to freak you out. Sirens have been seen in many times and recorded coming out of the water, going into the water, flying above the water, and to and from the water. Flying like a bird with wings. How many times have we heard something fly over the top of me down by the water and by the creeks?
Like harpies?
Yeah.
What was I going to say? That's the clip I was trying to get. So there's a gentleman or a guy on TikTok, and anybody that wants to go check it out afterwards, I can tell you, because I wasn't able to clip it, but it is, and I'm sure people have already seen it. His handle on TikTok is Sauce90, SAUCE 90. He has, and some people have tried to actually debunk it, but he was actually working on a ship, a fishing boat, a charter boat.
Oh, I know who you're talking about now. Okay.
Yeah, he actually has caught sounds and things floating through the water in the opposite direction that the boats were going. So people have tried to debunk it and say, oh, well, that's the guidelines from the boats, and that's why it looks like there's something in the water. But that's not what he's recording. He's actually recording things that are floating, like swimming underneath the water in the opposite direction. And you can hear, they're like, oh, well, those are whale sounds that are dubbed over it. Not if he's doing this live. I mean, these are, you hear it out over the water. So he caught weird stuff.
Inner Psychics wants you to show it. She doesn't have TikTok, but I don't believe we can without copyright.
Yeah, well, he has. Yeah, I don't know how that works. He has some that are without music, and I can try. Maybe we can do a clip. I don't know, just a short clip.
Maybe.
But let me see if I can find a short clip of it. I recorded a bunch of stuff from it today, but I wasn't able to actually pull anything out. So let me see if I can do it.
It makes you wonder. Above, below, and upon, you know?
Well, and then there's a Bible passage in Revelations 21:1, I think. And this is what really gets me. Hold on, let me look it up.
That
I want to make
is
sure it's...
very sad that happened to her. I agree. I wish we knew more or why it happened. I guess she will probably find that out in the preliminary investigation whenever she appeals it, because I would assume she's appealing it. And she should learn more during that process.
Okay, so explain this one too. Now in Revelations 21:1, and I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. Why would God get rid of the sea?
Well, why, whenever Jesus cast the demons out of the swine, did they go into the sea? Why does it talk about whenever demons are exorcised from people that they find no rest and they pass through the waters?
Yep.
Now, we could speculate that, good God, you're making me do this tonight. The water, could the water have something to do with giving them energy? And I'm
Say
going to
hi, say bye.
and I'm going to digress real quick off of that rabbit hole. Why are we born through water? Why is that so important? It's almost like the water is our birth certificate to say that we belong here, right? The angels were cast out of heaven. They weren't born through water. So they would be the, if you will, they are the illegal aliens. Since we were born through the water, then that is our birthright, our birth certificate to say we belong.
I agree.
We could go way down that, but I'm not going to right now. We've been on an hour and a half. But yeah, I think that they always follow the creeks, Boggy Creek. They always follow the creeks. They always follow the water, water spirits, the sirens in the water, Leviathan. Why do all these things come from the water?
Okay.
Oh my God, you could even go this way. Is coming through that water, Jesse, would that be the false birth of the creatures that Satan tries to pervert everything, since he can't bring them through a womb because he doesn't have the power of creation? He can pervert it and bring it through a false water of birth. I don't know, guys. I'm not saying I know. I'm just throwing it out there. It would be a big perversion. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying I know. I'm just throwing it out there.
Okay, so I've also heard on another show an individual talking about how they allowed themselves to become basically taken over, which I've been hearing quite a lot between actors and actresses and singers, artists, stuff like that, allowing themselves to be taken over by these entities and ultimately becoming something else.
Oh, different names, even different names. I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that.
But there was an interview and I didn't watch the whole interview, so don't come at me if I get this wrong. But basically, what I captured out of what he was saying was he would come into agreement with this demon who would then take over his body, and then that is how the Nephilim, or not the Nephilim, but the offspring of the Nephilim, would basically come about in this world now after Noah, which is another scary thought. And I'm sending it to the chat. I know you can't open it. I'm just sending it there so I can pull it up on my end. I have a little clip it you can hear.
And just to end this up real quick, the Nephilim emerged when the Watchers mated with the human women, producing giants who devastated the earth. Some scholars interpret certain passages as the forbidden. The creatures share characteristics of supernatural deception and destruction. The text describes how the Nephilim spirits became evil entities after death, wandering the earth and leading humanity astray, luring men and women to the waters to drown them into the depths. A lot of sailors were drowned. A lot of fishermen were drowned. The Nephilim, offspring of the Watchers and human women, share the Sirens' hybrid nature existing between domains. This parallel reinforces the book's recurring theme of boundary transgression, not to cross boundaries. Additionally, evil spirits released after the Nephilim's destruction operate similarly to sirens, leading humans astray through deception even to this day. As their descendants, and we've talked about this, the remnants of the Nephilim that are left in the earth in these days are called the Eliod, the descendants of the Nephilim, which live and walk amongst us in the flesh and blood as the abomination of God. Wow. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And that's what it says. Mm-hmm.
I agree. Okay, you can play that. You can play that video, and it is kind of loud. I'm just saying for everybody, it is kind of loud because you do hear the motor of the boats in the background. But he had grabbed his camera and was like, what's going on? And I guess he had 3-letter agencies that showed up on the boat and was basically.
I got a question. Is he the guy that went missing? That's missing?
He went missing, but he's back and he doesn't talk about it now. He has been on other shows and has had other interviews.
Wow.
But I don't think he talks about it a whole lot now. But yes, that's him.
Well, let's roll that clip.
Noise, bro. What is that noise? Where are you? This is crazy. I heard it. I heard it. I hear it. Oh my God.
So at one point you can actually, I don't know if anybody wants you to play it again. At one point in that one portion of it, and he zoomed in on it in another clip of his, but you can actually see something actually swimming in the opposite direction that the ship was actually going in, against the
That
wave.
noise, bro. What is that noise? Where are you? This is crazy. I heard it. I heard it. I hear it. Oh my God.
I know people have said, oh, that they could debunk it and that's stuff that's played over it, but he was actually out on this ship for like weeks on end and had been doing lives from there. And this was a few years back. I want to say this was actually in 2022, 21 or 22 that his videos first came out. Not quite sure when it actually started, because a lot of the stuff now are clippets of, he doesn't have any of the original stuff out anymore. They've all been wiped. Like at one point his account was wiped out, and that's why I think why everybody thought he disappeared.
Well, since we're reaching the end of this, and I know that we don't want to go down a lot of paths because of the things that it could cause, I have a question for everybody in chat tonight, and I have an idea of know what the answer is. How many of y'all would like to have a boots on the ground tomorrow night before the first of the year?
Yay! Let's go.
What if I could just do an
wanna go
impromptu
out.
boots on the ground? It's going to be cold as Hades tomorrow, but how many people would like to see a boots on the ground tomorrow night
I wanna
before the
go.
for the first of the year? No, you're not allowed to.
I know. It's been so long since I've been out.
Look at all the yeses. Look at all the yeses.
Looks like you're going out. Better wear two
Well,
pairs of underwear.
you're going to have to. It's going to be cold tomorrow night. All right, guys. Plan on tomorrow night, 8 p.m. my time,
Ronan.
Central Standard Time.
What a silly
I will do a boots on the ground for you guys tomorrow night. It'll be the last one before the first of the year, as far as boots on the ground. So let's end 2025 with a bang. Let's go out and let's have a boots on the ground for the last one for 2025. Let's hit 30,000 tomorrow night, guys, and have even a bigger surprise. We need 5 subscribers to hit 30,000 subscribers now.
We can do it.
So I think, share us out to all your platforms, guys. I will put the thumbnail out tonight. Let's hit 30,000 before the first of the year. What do you all say? And we'll bring the new year in with 30,000.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that would be a good thing. And then maybe we hit 30,000 tomorrow night. I think we'll schedule a live for maybe the 2nd, and we will have a celebration video of 30,000 and open lines where everybody can come on. And if you just want to say congratulations, Mike, blah, 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 whatever, if you want to tell a short story, whatever you want to do, we'll just have an open line for that also. We will all celebrate tomorrow or the 2nd together for the 30,000 and beyond. We'll be beyond that, I have no doubt. After tomorrow night, we will surpass 30,000, which is another milestone in YouTube. So very happy for that, and couldn't do it without you guys. Let me see what the count is right now, so I can give you all a definite number as to where we are all at. Let's see here. We are at 29,996. We need 4 subscribers. We'll do that the first 10 minutes. We'll be at 30,000. Yeah, we'll do it tomorrow night. Jess, would you like to start walking us out of this one?
Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. Hope y'all enjoyed this episode, this sit down. I liked this. This was fun. So thanks, everybody, for being here. Yeah, couldn't do it without you. And hope to see you all tomorrow. Good night, and God bless.
I would just like to say a few things tonight since we're wrapping this up and the end of the year is coming up. First of all, I would like to thank everybody for your continual support. I would like to thank my core supporters for always believing in me and keeping the channel alive and getting us to where we're at right now, because without my core supporters, we would not be here, as we were tried to be destroyed many times. Violence has been incited against me numerous times and continues to do so, but we still continue to grow. So to that, I would like to say, clowns, you failed. we will continue to grow, and you will watch me succeed. Another thing that I would like to say is tomorrow night we're going to go. We're going to beat 30,000 tomorrow night. We're going to call it ahead of time, and we're going to show the clowns that how easily it can be done. So, y'all put a bunch of clowns in chat for the clowns, make them feel special. And the one last thing, keep your head on a swivel. Don't be something's dinner. We'll see you tomorrow night at 8 p.m. We'll go out and exorcise the demons. We'll see you next time, guys.
Good night.